just before we get into the 3 games that matter, is there any chance of an upset that we're not seeing? So just a quick thought, Kingy, on whether Essendon can beat Brisbane.
No.
And derail all sorts of things. There's no way West Coast can beat Geelong and derail
Not a
things
chance.
for the Cats.
They can start now and not beat them.
Is there any way your North Melbourne Kangaroos can upset the Hawks? And
Not on anything I've seen.
Okay.
For
all
6
right.
years.
So now that we've got that out the way, let's go straight to Sunday because we don't really need to watch the other games this weekend, unfortunately. And we'll start with the Dogs taking on the Giants. Now, the changes, we don't know because they're just squads at the moment. Riley West has got a broken jaw. Tim English has been named, but your man Josh Gavlich has said there's no way Tim English is going to play. So Garcia, Arthur Jones, Caleb Poulter into the squad. For the Giants, Callum Brown, haven't seen him for a while. O'Halloran, Harvey Thomas, Nick Haynes into the squad. Lockie Ash out for that suspension on Hayden Young, the dangerous tackle. Oh, this is the game. This is
the game. This
is the game of round 24.
Oh, the game.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to the Carlton one to be
because this could be a prelim final. Like you could easily see.
Wow.
You could easily see the Giants beating Port Adelaide in the first week of the finals, going through. You could see the Dogs beating, say, a Hawthorn and then knocking off Geelong the next week. And
you got Hawthorn getting rolled. A minute ago, you just said they were going to win the flag.
I just said you could see it happening.
Oh,
I think this may be a preview of a prelim final. But anyway, it's your first thoughts. How do you see it?
I think Riley West is a big out.
Yeah, so do I.
I think it's a big out. He's played that negating sort of. It's almost like he plays on the interceptor, and it reads as if the ball's being targeted to him, but it's not necessarily going to him. It's the interceptor just rolling off. So I think he's a big out. And what he would do to disrupt Taylor and Buckley, who are trying to get back to Norton and Jamara and obviously Darcy, would be really important. And then that becomes Waitman's issue. It's a task it's going to be difficult to perform. They said 35-kilometre-an-hour breezes in Ballarat on Sunday. Now, that's not good for the big men. Not good for the big guys.
Not
they need
good for their goal kicking either.
No, the wall.
The Dogs have had some issues in that space.
Been a bit of an issue. Your man Bradley Johnson will be stressing all weekend. Looking forward to this. Oh, look, 2 teams in really good form. What I like about the Giants, and this is why they can win the flag, what they do when they don't have the ball is so hard to handle. They fly at you. The frontal pressure is enormous. It's the best in the competition by some margin. And I just don't... The Dogs are really good with their in-tight game. Their ability to get it from the inside to the outside is terrific. So this is a real key matchup here of taking the ball inside to out. Can you do it against the Giants?
What do they do with Brent Daniels, who was allowed to do as he pleased last week? Come up the ground, get back, go on ball, clearance, tackle, goals, possessions, score assists, whatever he wanted, and they had no answers for him. Do you go all the way with him? It's not something the Western Bulldogs have done, and if you are going to do it, who is it with? Because it's not a Bailey Dale type. So is it DeRay that goes all the way with him? I don't know, but does DeRay need to go to Toby Green? So that's interesting, the way that they shuffle that as well.
Yeah, their counterpunch game hasn't been that good lately, Giants. And I know that Daniels was extraordinary last week, and they showed some brilliance last week and they had some moments. But it hasn't been the tsunami of 2-3 years ago. It just hasn't been. So I wouldn't necessarily be giving up what you do and going up the ground with these guys. I'd be holding and waiting. But you've got to clamp them at the right times. I mean, they let Daniels just stroll. That was a bizarre game last weekend for Freo.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things you went, well, what's going on here? Are you really across this? I'm looking at the midfield battle. So Tommy Green, back in the ripping form last week. Can he just rip the heart out of this clearance game for the Dogs?
And the other one is just the scenario which has been well documented, but with Hogan and the running around in a 4 and Cadman's role in that, and how the Bulldogs fight that matchup and the matchup that they want to get. It's been terrific coaching. One of the coaching moves that we've seen this year is Adam Kingsley trying to orchestrate the matchup that he wants in the forward line, not in the back line or in the forward line. I haven't seen anything like it before. How hard do the Dogs fight this, do you think? Or are they like the others who think, oh, this is too hard, we'll just give up?
Great coaching. And I think that when you look at what he's done this year, so it's more small ball in the forward line. I mean, Cadman and Hogan start together more often than apart. So they don't have the traditional full forward, centre half forward. They block for one another, do the 4-way run around, as you said, and then the smalls go to work. So to me, this looks like more of I don't know, the actual lineup that's going to bring success. The Dogs are totally opposite. They're super tall. So it's just totally, they're poles apart. But I love what this coach has done. I love how he's got Buckley in a ripping form. He's got Taylor back now, obviously in a pretty good touch. I still think there's some work to do with their system as such, but this forward line looks all conquering.
All right, let's move to Marvel Stadium, 3:20. It's the Blues taking on the Saints. 3 changes into the team.
Oh.
Sard, Curnow, Fantasia in. Spoke to Matty Kennedy on Sports Day last night. He said, look, there's a few boxes still to tick with a number of those. So I'm not sure how many of those will get up. I'd be surprised if Curnow and Sard play. For the Saints, Filippo's a big one in. Hayes, Campbell and McClellan. Anthony Caminiti, of course, this is just squads at the moment. So the Blues get it done for 1 week with their makeshift team. They go over there on a hit mission led extremely well by Patrick Cripps. Kemp bobs up and kicks 4, and it was just a mindset. You could see it. We are here on a mission with a half a strength squad. But I'm not sure you can do that for multiple weeks. At some point, the talent and lack thereof gets you. And if it's no Cripps, it's no Carlton. So I don't think that the Saints and Ross will allow Patrick Cripps to do what he did against the Eagles last week. I just think the Saints win this, Kingy. How do you see it?
You might be right. I do think that these are the games where you create your legendary status. And if Paddy Cripps can just do what he did last week again, what will we be saying in the post-match? What will we be saying Monday? Yeah, this is an unbelievable opportunity for a guy who's done it all. Yeah. You know, Paddy Cripps, in terms of delivered on the big stage. I can see him doing it again. I know that everyone's talking up St Kilda and their ball movement, which is a factor. Last week was as good as they've moved the ball out of the defensive half against Geelong. They made them look second rate, and that will probably happen again. They're going to get scores on ball movement this week because Carlton are banged up. But when you see Wiedering and Cripps do it like they did last week, I'm not jumping off until I see that fail again. The Saints have been disappointing for most of the year. Was last week a flash in the pan, or is that them?
Have you say on that 0433 98 11 16? The matchup for Cripps. You could go Steele and say, all right, you take him. Go captain to captain and lay down the gauntlet there. You could go Stocker. And you could go there for a full sort of shutdown role. You could go a bit of Owens. It may be a combination of those three, but I'm telling you, Cripps will not be allowed to stand on his own and do what he did last week. So then that's another level of challenge for him to fight through that.
Sorry, mate. Would you play Charlie Curnow if say he's on the borderline of
what percentage are we talking?
Yeah, do you back the rest of them to get the job done? To hold him for effectively a fortnight, really. You get a good break if you can get through this one with the bye next week. That would give him the best opportunity to have a meaningful September.
It's a really interesting question. And it's a really, because if you were guaranteed a final spot, you go, there's no way. And there would be no way he would be named in this side. Clearly, hasn't trained, sore, and the risk that you do. But it's do or die. So, it is an ankle. You can jab it up, and you got the week off next week. So, I don't think they'll play him, to answer your question, but it's not an easy call considering losing you're done.
So why are Sydney playing all of their stars?
Yeah, I don't know that
this weekend.
So I think the bye before the finals sort of distorts those decisions, and that's the reason the AFL probably brought it in when Fremantle rested 13 and went up there and didn't care about the last round because they knew they were guaranteed a position the following week. But it is difficult if you are the team that finishes first. So if you rested Warner this week, and then you go week off next week, then you go the first qualifying final win, then you got another week off. It's not a lot of footy as you head into the serious stuff. So I think it's more just a conditioning, keeping it sharp. Yeah.
How good's that not having contact and not being banged up, the risk of injury?
I
wouldn't play any of them. I wouldn't play any of them.
Not a lot of footy, though. A week off and then another week off.
I don't care what the player wants to do, right? The job of the senior coach and the coaching staff is to win the flag. You've finished top of the table. You've earned the luxury of resting. Why not take advantage of it?
Because
you're the only team in the comp that could do it this week.
Not enough footy, though, is it?
Not enough footy?
Like, they're resting McCartan.
We've been going for 30 weeks. How much footy do you need?
So, I don't know. I don't know if it's enough.
And not enough.
Well, say for Warner, who
play a scratch match, a non-context.
But say for Warner, he didn't play last week, doesn't play this week, doesn't play next week.
Warner and Parker, I can accept, right? But there's no way I'm risking Heaney. No way I'm risking Grundy.
Gordon's the one. I think
he's the first magnet off the board.
So I think he's the one you could, because his conditioning is elite, and he's played so much game time this year. So he's the one.
Heaney.
Yeah, probably Heaney. You could have a look at Heaney as well, and Grundy would be the other one.
But if Heaney gets injured, it's over. I don't care about your managing minutes and all this.
And we'll see.
We haven't played enough footy. Our systems are not quite perfect. We've got some work to do, some scope for improvement. Mate, if he gets injured, it's done.
So let's move on to the next game because it's Fremantle taking on Port Adelaide. This may be dead. This may be a dead rubber for either team, really, depending on how the results go in the first two games. But say if the Bulldogs beat the Giants, Port Adelaide pretty much guaranteed top two. Are you going to rest it? Because they're pretty banged up, I'm telling you. Are you going to rest a whole heap of those players as well?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if there's no point playing them, they're out.
So I don't
see the difficulty
so
in
I think
the
what they'll do
decision.
is take a big squad to Perth, take 30, and then if the result doesn't really matter, you may be able to pull a few out, which may help Fremantle in their quest for playing finals as well. So three changes for the Dockers: Walters, Erasmus and Aish. No one out yet. Georgiades back in. It's only been a 2-week quad, which makes me nervous. Vicentini, Sin, McEntee and Lord come in. Houston's out forever and Quinton Narkle out also.
Houston's out forever. I like that. Hey, but it depends on what Geelong do. If Geelong have a thumping victory and can close the percentage gap,
so I think it's 200
you
points.
can't take the risk.
I think it's
200.
I think it's the combined 200. So if Geelong won by 120, Port Adelaide can't lose by 80. So it's that sort of scenario.
Right.
So unlikely.
So how many would you take out? Imagine who would you take out? And how many?
I'd just take out Horn Francis first because
how many would you give me the list, the shopping list of outs?
I'll just give you the mid. I'd take out Butters because who knows, he might get himself suspended, so he's out. Yep. Horn Francis is out. Rosie's out. I would take out Aaliyah.
Take the three of them out.
I'd take Aaliyah for sure, and I'd take out Rioli, but I would give Rioli the hardest conditioning session he's ever had in his whole life if he wasn't going to play. So anyway, that's another.
So you take that
into
if you
this.
took those five out,
yeah,
and Fremantle had to win, they would probably win by more than 80.
Do you reckon? Yeah, maybe.
Port Adelaide without those five guys would lose. What would be the margin? Give us a text.
Well, it depends on what West Coast do with Geelong and how far they capitulate, and you'll know that. You'll know that result. All right, Kingy. All right.
Positives in the gun.
There's no such thing. Who's in the gun? Who's in the gun this week?
I'll tell you who's in the gun. The fullback for the Western Bulldogs, Liam Jones.
Right.
Never played in a final. Beat Jesse Hogan, and you will. The destiny is in your own hands.
Never played in a final.
He's 34 next February. This is your last opportunity to just go bang. 2024 is the year. Their profile couldn't be better. He's getting as much support as he can possibly get now with their midfield on fire and the big lobster rolling back and helping. It was bulletproof.
Your man, the lobster.
My man, the lobster. Bulletproof against the Kangas. He looked vulnerable against the Crows a couple of weeks ago. The week before that, he was really good against Melbourne. But Hogan's gone 5, 4, 4, 4, 5, 3, 6. It's an unbelievable run.
Amazing.
So can you beat the hottest man in footy at the moment, Jesse Hogan, and get yourself a much sought-after finals opportunity?
Stop Hogan, stop the Giants. I'm going to stay on the same game. And yep.
Not the lobster.
I'm putting Toby Green in the gun.
Wow.
And I do this reluctantly because he is the All-Australian captain. But this rivalry is a rivalry that I absolutely love. He's been at the forefront of it, and he has single-handedly helped build this. Last time he played against the Western Bulldogs in round 20 last year, he kicked 5. He's got a great record against the Dogs. But I'm hearing all about Hogan. I'm hearing all about Daniels. I'm hearing all about your man with the helmet, Darcy Jones. I'm not hearing a whole lot about Toby Green. He's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy again, Toby Green. And if Toby Green goes off in Ballarat on Sunday, the prospect of them finishing top 2 and the easy path through to a grand final is there. But I can't have him having 4 touches like he did against the Lions. And he was okay last week, 13-2. He's getting his, he was pretty good and turned the corner some weeks prior to that. But I'm just sensing a vintage Toby Green performance, and he needs it for his team. So that was who you put in the gun for Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. That's who I put in the gun. Liam Jones and Toby Green, Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. It is easy to buy and sell with Grays. Do you want me to go first? Because I feel
you
like
go first.
you always
Yeah,
go
right.
first.
You serve. You serve first.
I'll serve first. Big serve. Got a big serve. Setting him down at 210 at the moment.
I wouldn't reckon.
I want to take you back to round 12 when Justin Longmuir was feeling really good about the dual $1.8 million rucks that he had going.
Because I don't really care what everyone else thinks. And, people want to be sensationalists and be the first to say it's not working and this and that. Like the fact is, last year when they both played and had continuity, it worked. Sean's in his second game back. He's only going to get better as well. But he covered the ground really well. He looks really strong in the ruck, and I think it can work. Been saying it all along, and today was a little bit more evidence to suggest that it can and will.
Oh, it might be good when they both play, but the facts are they don't both play. And the facts are when you sign up a guy who has had injury worries at 115 kilograms for 7 years and he's played 12 games for the year, and when you desperately need him in the last 3 weeks and in a cutthroat game ahead of finals, he's not available. So, Justin, this isn't working. And I just think it's been, well, I think everyone could see it's going to be a disaster. And it is a disaster, Kingy. And he's not there again. He withdrew a couple of weeks ago with a sore knee. I don't know what's happened, but he's listed as a test on their website. He's not a test because he's not playing again. And he's played 12 games for the year. Disaster.
Well, injury can do this to you.
Yep. You've got to factor that in, though, don't you? Like, you've got to factor in the risk of injury, previous injury, the size of the player. The facts are that you're playing a risky position, and this may happen. So how this looks in 7 years' time...
But the contracts don't mean anything. I mean, we're talking about Bolton going to Fremantle. He's got a 4-year deal. They mean nothing. So we've been talking about Petrarca, maybe leaving Melbourne.
Would you look
talking about everything?
Would you look at it? They got a young ruck who looked okay last week.
But at least they hold the whip hand. I mean, they might look at it and they get overs in the deal because he's got a long-term contract.
Do you think someone will get over what he would have been this time last year when they should have traded him for 2 first-round picks? I don't know, Kingy. They need him badly, and he's not out there. Yeah,
look, I don't know if Luke Jackson's as good a ruckman as what you think he is. Would be my rider on that.
Well, he's a better ruckman than he's a forward.
He's a better ruckman
not a forward.
than he is a forward.
He's definitely not a forward, I'm telling you that. He's not a key forward.
No, well, I don't know where you're playing. I touched on this last night.
So you're worried about him?
At Jackson?
Yeah.
His impact on games,
yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. But again, I said that this is the period of the season that they recruited him for. They need him to go big in September, like he's done before. And you know what? Maybe he's just one of those guys that doesn't do it in the meaningless, meandering home and away season. But when it's there, can get it done. Let's wait and see. Let's give him an opportunity.
You've seen Luke Jackson? This is a good point. This is separate to my argument. But I guess your point is, how long has it been since Luke Jackson has been the best player on the ground? Been a while. Like, how long has he really grabbed the game and you go, wow?
Well, hasn't taken a contested mark for a month. He hasn't taken this. He's taken 3 intercept marks in 6 weeks. He's been in at 30 centre bounces to no effect. He's been targeted 15 times in the forward 50 in 6 weeks. Like, they don't kick it to him. He doesn't win his own board centre bounces, and then they don't kick it to him. So I don't know how they're using him.
Well,
I don't know how.
So it's not the double duo is not good. So, Justin.
But that's the challenge of footy, isn't it?
Yeah.
To gather and go. And he doesn't necessarily have to be best on ground. He doesn't have to be best on ground. He just has to have 3 or 4 moments that swing the opportunities to score. That's my theory on him. I don't think he's a consistent performer.
No, I don't think he's justified.
He's a moment man.
The price that they gave to give him and also the paycheck and the contract that he's got.
Tom Boyd,
both of them are.
Tom Boyd style for me.
You think?
They can pay the bills in big games.
All right.
And then you say, you know what, he's been worth it. That'll be a discussion for us later in the year.
Who's on your agenda?
Well, the Brisbane Lions are. I mean, we talk a lot about the Lions. We talked about their selfish behaviour last week with their stuff in front of goal, which we've talked about before. And I thought Danny Daly was terrific yesterday with Dwayne Russell, Midday Madness, and he answered a couple of questions. One about Joe Danaher and one about the criticism of Chris Fagan. I want to have a chat about that.
Joe's Joe, we know we get, but we did have a bit of a chat in our review this week about that, and he put his hand up and acknowledged that, there's a couple of examples on the weekend where he potentially could have done better, but, in saying that, he had a good game. He kicked 4 goals and kept us in the game. So, we all have those moments, unfortunately. The conversations have been had between himself and Fags over the journey from time to time, so they're not shy of having those conversations with each other, but we also know what makes Joe tick, and, sometimes, unfortunately, these things happens in game, and sometimes he does it where people think he shouldn't, and he pulls off a miraculous goal, and we don't talk about it. So, it hasn't been hasn't been a situation where we haven't been having those conversations. They've been few and far between, but they happen. It's a hard competition, and it's hard to win a premiership. And I hear stories about how we've got the best list in the competition. I'm not sure how you can grade what's the best list, to be fair. I think Fags has done an unbelievable job with our football club. We're coming off for our 6th straight final series. And if we win on the weekend and finish 5th, it'll be, the last 6 years we've finished 6 and above. So, and got to 3 prelims and a grand final. And we'd love to win one, don't get me wrong. And we're pushing to win one. But I think the commentary around him and the ability to take the side to a premiership has been a bit harsh and a bit unfair.
Harsh, unfair.
He's talking to you there.
He is,
Danny's
absolutely.
talking to you, directly to you.
And I understand that they would be angry with that sort of feedback.
Is this a feud?
No feuds. No feuds. We just talk about the game.
Yep.
So you can get upset with what we talk about with the game.
Does he make a point with the record that he's got? I mean, they're really hard to win. So the home and away record,
they're hard to win.
Getting to a grand final, being a kick away, consistent. Do you give him that he's got a point with sustained
They're not honorary
success?
roles, mate. They're not honorary roles. You put your hand up for the big lick, and you know what? There's 100 people trying to get those jobs, right? There's 18 of them in the land.
So no points for their record. No
Points.
No tip of the cap to say, yep, you've been pretty good.
Great job. Rebuilt the club,
Yep.
5 wins, bang, straight up into the top 4. But they've been in the top 4 for 5 or 6 years now. Like, you got to win one. This is my point. There's no point being a consistent top 4 team if you don't win one.
So what do they do? What do they
That's
do?
not
if
our
they-
competition.
What do they do? Because it's going to be really hard to win it, particularly as an interstate side outside the top 4. What do they do at the end of this year if they don't?
Well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens because it's an even top 4 or 5. I don't think they'll win it from 5th, but let's wait and see. If they do, we'll clap our hands together and say, well done, outstanding. I do think they got the best list in the comp, and I do think that they should be finishing top 4. And they're going to look at the start of this season and see what they got wrong, and they'll talk about that first 4 or 5 weeks rather than the back 4 or 5 weeks. So wait and see. But this is footy. Don't worry about whether we're too harsh or not. Just you either deliver or you don't. Look, Ross Lyon puts it perfectly. You just got to put up and shut up in this game, and in the end, this is why we laud the teams that win the flag because they get it right.
I tell you what, I do get sick of a little bit. The Joe's Joe. Oh, no, it may be harsh just to focus on one player, but that Joe's Joe. Well, Joe's not Joe when he's kicking torps at a critical stage halfway through the third quarter, or he's lining up from 35 metres directly in front to put them 23 points up for a top 2 finish, and he sprays it. Or he burns his teammate, which you've been strong on right from the start of the year, and even prior to that, many people have had that thought. Joe's just not Joe. What are we coaching Joe not to be Joe? Like, I don't know. I just think that, I said last year, really early, may have been round 3, they won't win the premiership with Danaher and Hipwood. And I nearly was made to look foolish. Like, it could have easily happened, but I don't know if they will. Like, Hipwood got his big 7-year deal. I haven't seen him since. Where's Hipwood? What do we talk about Eric Hipwood? Like, where is he? Like, and Joe's Joe. Like, so, and maybe, and I said after the game on the week, like, this is why he'll never be a superstar of the game. Like, a good player, kicked 49 goals for the year. We'd all like a player as talented as Joe Danaher, but the Joe's Joe talk annoys me. That frustrates me.
Yeah, well, at least Joe delivers on the big stage. You've got to dip your lid to Joe. He was awesome in that grand final last year. Nearly won him the game. So I'm happy to wear a little bit with Joe. I'm happy to take a bit of bad because there's a lot of good, right? And we do often focus on his bad. But if they're going to set the game up the way they do with Charlie Cameron higher up the field, streaming back to goal,
Kick it to him.
You got to use him.
Goodness,
otherwise you break the whole thing down.
I can't believe Charlie hasn't lost his mind with some of the amount of times he gets burnt, and you have to watch it live to see it. Like, he gets burnt more players than any player in the game. Just put it in front of him. You kick that left foot snap from the boundary, just give him a chance to get it. All right, on my agenda, just a watch. So. Watch the dangerous tackle. This is the time you do not want to get suspended. So for any player, if you need to just ease back on slinging a player in a tackle, I just don't want to see a great player, Bontempelli, Caleb Sarong, whoever it is, Zach Butters, whoever it is, Patrick Cripps, miss a final as a result of a dangerous tackle this week. So that's on my agenda. ease back if you have to, just a little bit. We don't want the tribunal
Sandra Sully.
affecting the final series. I know, but it's just the time. It's just a reminder.
We did that last week.
I
You've got
know-
to start watching our
No,
program.
sorry, I
on
did.
Fox. You're coming across. You've
Well,
got to start
I think
watching them
you're
in
a week
advance.
early.
Get your eye
I think
in.
you're a week early. 'Cause
I
you
went a
s-
week earlier. Got to Houston. Big tick.
Well,
Roughy conduct. Start watching our shows, man. If you're gonna get on board.
I just think this
Start
week,
watching.
because at least last week you had the extra buffer. So say if you're who was it?
Extra
Ash.
buffer.
Say if you're Lockie Ash, right? If he'd done that this week, he misses a final where he had the 1 week buffer to get himself back for the final. This is the week you've really got to watch it. So what was
Another
it?
reason.
What-
It's another reason you don't play them.
Yeah, that's a reasonable point. The AFL record 2024 Toyota AFL Grand Final double ticket giveaway is powered by Signet. What was your reheating soup that I? So I put my hand up for reheating some soup on Razor Ray.
No.
And you said,
I
I
had
got
a
in
guy
trouble
on
for-
Twitter. I had a guy on Twitter. I found out via another media person. The guy that's
Rick
having a crack
Lyon
at me.
or not?
No. A former businessman from down Geelong way sold his business for multi millions, and he's worried about what I'm doing on a Monday morning with Jared. I'm thinking, mate, get on with life. He plays golf 7 days
Did
a
he
week.
accuse you of
He's worried about what we're doing.
Did he accuse you of reheating some soup?
I said, well, it's sort of a bit difficult when you get off air at 10 o'clock Sunday night and you're here at 9 o'clock Monday morning to come up with a full suite of new topics about the same games. It's just conversation about footy, brother. Relax.
Go play some golf. Who is it?
Yeah.
Name and shame.
I don't know his name. I'll find his name.
Do you know
I'll
his
find his name.
business? Was it Cotton On or something?
No, it's not Cotton. I'm just going to call
Oh,
him. I'm just going to call him Golden Trumpets. He'll know who he is.
Golden Trumpets having. I love it. I love the fact that he could be anywhere in the world owning his private island, and he spends his Monday having a crack at you.
Listen to us.
It's brilliant. Absolutely love it.
Good fun. All good fun.